Hello yogis, welcome to Nava Yoga. My name is Alyson. Today I want to share with you what I'm calling yoga for people with hamstrings class. So I wouldn't call it like a yoga for runners thing. The only catch to that is I don't really consider myself a runner. However, I usually, in the times of old, pre-coronavirus quarantine situation, typically would reserve yoga for those special times when there's something large, frightening, and menacing chasing after me. However, in the absence of many of my other exercise workout type avenues being curtailed at the moment, I found running is a great outlet for some of the stress and kind of pent up feelings I've got going on. So I've been running a bit more. I don't quite consider myself a runner. Maybe you do. Either way, I think we both have hamstrings and could benefit from a practice that focuses on stretching, strengthening, and lengthening through those hamstring muscles. This is one of those cases where if we were in the studio, I'd say everyone grab a strap, and that would be great because we would have a basket of them over in the corner. So if you have a strap at home, great. Now might be a good chance to grab it. You might want it later on in class. If you don't, no worries. I got a few creative problem solving ideas for us as well. I actually don't either. Shh, don't take away my yoga teacher license. All right, so one option, this is the strap that actually I use to carry my yoga mat, 2 little loops. Carry strap will work just as well. You might want to have that handy. Another option, if you're like me, but spending a little quality time in your bathrobe, grab the tie off your bathrobe. It's a nice, white, fluffy, plush. Might feel completely luxurious here. We're not using it for anything fancy, just sometimes those hamstrings are especially tight. Getting a little more distance to kind of get in there might feel great and helpful. If you don't want to get creative, you don't want to go digging through your closets, no worries. I'll give you options there as well. It's as simple as, you just kind of bend your leg and bring it a little bit in closer that way. All right, so let's get started. If you need to go grab props, grab them now, hit pause, come on back. All right, if you're back with me, let's get started. So find any comfortable seated position. A little bit of weeble wobbling, right? Move the flesh out from underneath your sit bones. Simple cross-legged position will do the trick. Bring your palms to your knees. They can be face up or face down. And breathe here. Find this moment to kind of get centered. Take this moment to, maybe let go of some of the distractions elsewhere in your day. And just breathe. When you're ready, I invite you to close your eyes and bring your palms together. We'll mark the beginning of our practice with the sound of 1 Om. I invite you to sing along or listen and receive. Start with an inhale. Gently blink your eyes open. All right, make your way onto your mat, in my case, and make your way onto your hands and your knees. We'll start with a few rounds of cat and cow pose. So set up a good foundation here. Wrists underneath your shoulders, knees underneath your hips. Wrists shoulder distance apart, knees hip distance apart. It's going to just kind of be what feels like, it's the right stable foundation for you here. Then start by dropping your belly, arch your back, look up between your eyebrows. Then do the opposite. Draw your belly in around your spine, press the mat away. Alternate here between these two. Do 1 on the inhale and 1 on the exhale. Right? Try to bring that movement and match it up with your breath. Do 1 more of these here. And then come to a neutral spine. So make your back neither arch nor rounded, but do pull your belly in here slightly. So keep that core engaged. We'll try to keep that engaged a good bit throughout our practice as well. Then reach your feet back behind you, tuck your toes, lift your hips up and back, find downward facing dog. Feel free to bend out through your feet, bend your knees, sway your hips, press through your heels. Move in any way that feels good for you here in this practice. Just kind of working out the kinks. Maybe you've been hunched over a laptop all day or sitting in some unusual, maybe not quite so ergonomic position. No worries. Then find stillness in your down dog. Breathe here. Come forward to the top of plank pose. Bring your shoulders over your wrists. For this first one, we'll lower our knees down to the mat, Lower your chest in line with your thumbs and lower your chin. So you're in this kind of awkward interim pose with your booty sticking up in the air. Slide forward and up, little baby cobra, little back bend here. Then tuck your toes, lift your hips up and back. Downward facing dog. Breathe. On your inhale, walk your feet forward to meet your hands. Come to a standing forward fold. Especially here in this first one, we're going to go hips distance apart, maybe even a little bit wider than hips distance apart. That'll give those hamstrings a chance to stretch out. And feel free to bend your knees as much as you need to. So I find it helpful to maybe find that reference point with your hands resting on something and then bend your knees as much as you need to make that comfortable, but where you begin to feel that stretch through the back of your legs. So you inhale, reach your arms up overhead, look up, stretch up. Let's go back into it. Bend at your hips, fold forward. Bring your palms to shins, look up, lengthen, find a flat back. Place your hands down on the mat, step back to the top of plank pose. You can lower knees, chest, chin, or if you're ready for a chaturanga, bend your elbows by the side. Slide forward and up for up dog or cobra. Tuck your toes, lift your hips, downward facing dog. Breathe here. On your next inhale, walk your feet forward and meet your hands, standing forward fold. I'll give you the option from here if you want to go feet hips distance apart, or if you want to bring your feet a little bit closer together. You want to feel where that stretch feels appropriate for you and your body right now. So you inhale, reach your arms up overhead, look up, stretch up. Even here, pull your belly in. Bend at your hips, fold forward. Bring your palms to shins, look up, flat back. Place your hands down on the mat, step back to the top of plank pose. We'll move through this vinyasa movement, a couple sequence of poses. We use a lot in our practice to kind of tie everything together. On your next inhale, walk your feet forward to meet your hands. Come back to that standing forward fold. Again, your choice, feet together or feet hips distance apart. As you inhale, reach your arms up overhead, look up, stretch up, get a little bit taller. Bend at your hips, fold forward. Palms to shins, look up, flat back. Place your hands down on the mat, step to the top of plank, lower down, lift back up, and back to downward facing dog. Take 3 breaths here. On your next inhale, come forward to the top of your mat, standing forward fold. Inhale and reach your arms up overhead, look up, lengthen. And then as you exhale, bring your arms down by your side. Let's do this. Let's all separate our feet hips distance apart. So wherever they are, take them about hips distance apart. Then fold forward. Take a hold of your big toe with your thumb and first 2 fingers. So you're kind of wrapping these like peace fingers, thumb and first 2 fingers around your big toe. And bend your knees as much as you need to. Once again, there's going to be a lot of that throughout our practice, right? If you feel like your feet are too far away, the floor is too far away, go ahead and bend your knees. If you have blocks, that can work great in some of these poses, but a lot of times it's going to be easiest if we just kind of bend our knees. All right, so you're bending your knees, you're getting hold of your big toes, bend your elbows out to the side as well, and fold forward. Breathe here. If you want to begin to maybe straighten your legs a little bit more, go for it. Then release your big toes. Heel toe your feet back together. So big toes touch, a little space between your heels. From here, bend your knees, sit your hips down real low, reach your arms up alongside your ears, Utkatasana chair pose. So you're sitting back in that imaginary chair, completely useless. Straighten your legs, fold forward. Bring your palms to shins, look up, flat back. Place your hands down on the mat, step back to the top of plank pose. Move through this vinyasa, so lower down, lift up, and down dog. Right away, lift your right leg up, step it forward in between your hands, spin your left heel down on the mat, rise up for warrior one. So in warrior one, our hips are still facing forward. Bring your hands back down on the mat on either side of your front foot, step to the top of plank, lower down, lift back up, and back to downward facing dog. Let's do the left side, lift your left leg up, step your left foot forward in between your hands, spin your right heel down, rise up, Virabhadrasana, warrior one, second side. Bring your hands back down to the mat, step to the top of plank pose, lower, lift, and down dog. Breathe here. You can always take a child's pose in place of down dog. You can always skip the little vinyasa movements and meet us in down dog. It's where we're going anyway. But wherever you are, breathe. On your inhale, walk your feet forward to meet your hands. Back to that standing forward fold. On your inhale, reach your arms up overhead, look up, stretch up. And right away, bend your knees, sit your hips down low. You gotta just sit back into that completely useless chair. Yeah. All right. Straighten your legs and fold forward. Bring your palms to shins, look up, flat back. Place your hands down on the mat, step to the top of plank pose. Lower down. Lift back up, and back to downward facing dog. Right away, lift your right leg up, step it forward in between your hands, spin your back heel down on the mat and rise up. As you exhale, bring your hands back, down to the mat, step to the top of plank, lower, and lift, and back to downward facing dog. Lift your left foot up, step your left foot forward in between your hands, spin your right heel down on the mat, and reach your arms up alongside your ears. Place your hands back down on the mat, step back to the top of plank, move through this vinyasa, or meet us in down dog. Or of course, take child's pose. Once you arrive, find that connection with your breath again. Inhale, and exhale. Now on your next inhale, gaze forward, step forward, come back to a standing forward fold. A lot of forwards. On your inhale, reach your arms up overhead, stretch up, and right away sit back into that chair, Utkatasana, chair pose. Straighten your legs, fold forward. Bring your palms to shins, look up, lengthen, flat back. Place your hands down on the mat, step to the top of plank, lower, and lift back up. Tuck your toes, lift your hips for downward facing dog. Right away, lift your right leg up, step it forward in between your hands, and your left heel down on the mat, and reach your arms up alongside your ears. So, warrior one. Bring your hands back down to the mat, step to the top of plank, and lower, and lift, and back to downward facing dog. Lift your left leg up, step your left foot forward in between your hands, spin your right heel down, reach your arms alongside your ears. Cracking myself up over here. Bring your hands back down to the mat. Step back to the top of plank. Move through vinyasa. Or meet us in downward facing dog. Breathe. On your next inhale, come forward to the top of your mat. Standing forward fold. Inhale and reach your arms up overhead. And exhale to bring them down by your side. Tadasana, mountain pose. So from here, take your feet hips distance apart. Again, you can always go a little bit wider, especially if you've got super tight hamstrings, right? Wider, more bendy knees, all will help you kind of get in there and access them. From here, fold forward. So you could do like we did before, grab a hold of your big toe with your thumb and first two fingers. If you want to go a little bit deeper, slide your palms underneath your feet so your palms are facing the bottoms of your feet and your toes come to your elbow creases, right? So you might have to bend your knees a lot to get here. Go for it. And then from there you can begin to straighten your legs and breathe.
Relax your shoulders onto your back and let your head and neck kind of hang heavy here. So it shouldn't feel like you're gripping with your shoulders. You shouldn't feel kind of scrunched up in the shoulders. Focus more on the stretch through the back of your legs. All right, release your hands. Walk them out. And on your inhale, come on back up to stand. And then Tadasana. I'm going to back up a bit so you can see all of me here in the camera. All right, so let's play with a little bit of like a standing crescent pose. So start with your feet together, big toes touch, a little space between your heels. Reach your arms up alongside your ears. So you're going to take a hold of your right wrist with your left hand, lengthen up, especially through the right side of your body, and then go for a side stretch. So your hips press right, your fingertips stretch towards the left side of your mat, and both biceps, both upper arms stay close by your ears. Breathe here. Come on back up to center. Switch sides, so we'll keep it simple. Just grab a hold of the opposite wrist. So you're going to have your right hand to the left side. If you've screwed up your sides, don't worry. We're doing one side, then the other, so it all evens out. Lengthen through the left side of your body and go for that side bend. So it might be a little tricky to see here, but I'm really just bending side to side, not front to back. You can press your hips to the left, reach your fingers to the right, and breathe. Come on back up to center. Release your arms. Whew. Shake them out. Do, do, do. Sound effects are always great. And reach them back up again. So same thing. Let's go do just switch to the opposite side, but every side you did first. In my case, it's the right side. So grab your wrap your left fingers around your right wrist, lift up through the right side of the body, and go for that great big side stretch once again. So your right palm should be facing down towards the mat, or whatever palm is facing down towards the mat, no worries. Put your confidence in your right leg, and you kind of begin to just float that left leg out to the side, right? So right foot is down on the mat, left leg is out to the side, and it's still everything's kind of side to side. It's not a lot of forward and back. So keep your arms and that lifted leg all in one even plane. Come on back up to center. Release your arms, release your legs. Grab a hold of the other wrist. Lift up, same thing, go for that side bend. Once you've arrived in the side bend, put your confidence in your left leg so you can begin to kind of sneak that right leg off, hover it, and then stretch it out to the side. If you have to turn on your mat or reposition yourself to do that, go for it, right? Whatever space you have, just kind of work with it and readjust as needed. On your inhale, come on back up to center, release your arms, shake them out. Let's go ahead and do a forward fold here. Make your way back to downward facing dog. I'm kind of in the middle of my mat here, so anything where you got to do, readjust, find downward facing dog. If you want to move through a vinyasa, take a vinyasa. If not, we'll meet right back here in downward facing dog. And then lift your right foot up behind you. Step your right foot forward in between your hands. Spin your left heel down. This time open up into warrior two. So bend deep into your front knee. Line your front heel up with the back inner arch of your back foot. Squeeze your shoulders towards each other on your back, but reach your fingertips out in opposite directions. Breathe here. Then flip your front palm up. Keep your legs, just change your upper body. Reach up and back, go for a reverse warrior. Straighten your front leg. So now we're changing the front leg, and we still have the tilt back in the upper body. See if you can really get that great big side stretch. So you inhale, bring your arms back to center. This time reach towards the front of your mat. Place your bottom hand down to the floor. Your hand can touch down the floor, maybe fingertips come outside of your foot. I like to sometimes rest on my foot or up on my shin. As long as you're above or below your knee, that's great. If you have blocks, they can be helpful here, but totally not necessary, right? Find somewhere to rest that bottom hand, but really use your belly muscles, your core, to support your torso here. Reach out through your top arm and gaze up. On your inhale, come on back up. Bring your hands to your hips. We have to change the stance a little bit here. So you're going to step your back foot in and reposition your feet. So the back foot comes in, comes up your mat a bit, and there's maybe about 3 or 4 feet distance in between your heels here. And you want to offset your feet. So it's kind of like one foot's in front of the other, like they're on separate train tracks. That'll especially help, right? Give those hips some space. Bring your hands to your hips. Turn them so your hips face forward towards the top of your mat. Then bend at your hips and fold forward. So you're folding over that straight front leg. If it's not totally straight and it's got a little bend in it, that can work too. If your hands touch the ground, great. If you have blocks, great. You can always bring them up to kind of rest on your shin as well. The thing is, we want to focus on folding over your front leg, in this case your right leg. Wherever you are, breathe. Then bring your left hand down on the mat. It can be in line with your left foot, or if you need a little more space, go a little further out to the left as well. Lift your right arm up and twist. So you're twisting towards that straight front leg, positioning that bottom hand wherever feels great for you. And keep pulling your right hip back behind you. So that right hip wants to follow the twist. Resist against it, pull it back towards the back of your mat. Breathe here. Untwist, unwind, come back to center. Make your way back to downward facing dog. A little bit of a weird one to come out of, no worries. Find your way back to your down dog, hit the reset button. And if you'd like to move through a vinyasa, go for it. On your next inhale, lift your left leg up. Step your left foot forward in between your hands. Spin your back heel down. You know we're setting up for warrior one on the second side. Find a good stable foundation here. Bend deep into your front knee, so you make kind of a 90-degree bend in your front knee. And your knee tracks towards your second toe, basically, of that front foot. Relax your shoulders away from your ears. Draw your belly in and gaze out over your front middle finger. Breathe here. Flip your front palm, reach up and back for reverse warrior. Stretch through the side of your body. So here your legs stay the same, just the upper body changes. We're gonna add on to it in a minute so you know where we're going on the second side, and no worries. Then go ahead and straighten that front leg, and you got reverse triangle pose. Breathe. Come on back up to center with your arms. Reach towards the front of the room, the front of your mat, wherever that may be in your room. Place your bottom hand down and rest it on something, and reach out through your top arm. So check in with that front knee, that left knee. Make sure it's not locked out. It doesn't feel like you're sitting in your joint. It might be helpful to just play with putting a little bend in your knee, then kind of going towards straight. A little tiny micro bend and towards straight. Usually keeping that tiny little bend is actually going to feel nicer on the knee than kind of totally locking out into the joint. My super bendy, hyperextendy friends may have more of a concern on this one. One more inhale. And rise on up. Come on back up to stand. All right, like I said, no great transition on this one. Step your back foot in. Line your feet up so they're on opposite train tracks. A little space in between and a little space front to back. Bring your hands to your hips. Turn your hips so they face towards the front of your mat. And then bend at your hips, fold forward. Rest your hands down on something, but again, you want to really use your belly muscles. So even if your hands are like, totally flush with the mat, you can hang out here forever. Make sure you're still engaging your core, engaging those belly muscles to help support here. Draw your left hip back behind you, bring your right hip more forward, and breathe. All right, then find a good place for your right hand. Maybe it's underneath your right shoulder. Maybe you want a deeper twist by bringing it bringing it closer to your left foot, or a little bit more open twist by bringing it out wide. But either way, lift your left arm up, pull your left hip back, and if it feels okay on your neck, gaze up towards your left shoulder. Breathe here. Untwist, unwind, bring both hands back to the mat, and navigate your way back to downward facing dog. Move through a vinyasa here if you'd like. And of course, you're welcome to take a child's pose really anytime in your practice, but it's a nice substitute in on some of these vinyasas or stand in for some down dogs. Wherever you are, let's breathe. On your next inhale, gaze forward, walk forward, come back to our standing forward fold. So you inhale, reach your arms up overhead, look up, stretch up, and bring your arms down by your side. So this one, slightly different. Again, I'm gonna step back a little bit here. All right, so start with your hands on your hips. Lift your right leg up, cross it in front of your left. So you kind of have like your pinkies are touching each other here. Hands on your hips, bend at your hips, fold forward. Rest your hands on something. So again, bend your knees as much as you need to here. You want to begin to feel that stretch through the back of your legs. Hands can always rest on your legs. They can always just kind of hang out too. The less you use your hands, the more you're going to use your core, and the more the core is going to work to help stabilize. So bonus points if you find yourself in that position. Breathe here. On your next inhale, come on back up. You still got the twist in the leg, so let's kind of turn it into an eagle pose. Put your confidence in your left leg, lift your right, wrap it around a little bit tighter. You can tuck your toes in close or wrap them around. Bring your arms up, bring your right arm under your left, press the back of your palms together, or press your palms together. So we got right leg over, right arm under. If you screwed it up, no worries, just be consistent on the second side. And you got Garudasana, eagle pose here. Untwist, unwind, one up, come back to stand, release your arms, untangle your legs, shake it out, shake it out. Let's do the second side. So lift your left leg up, step your left foot in front of your right, so your pinkies are matched up here. And then hands to your hips. It's just kind of a good guide on where your hips are and what part should be bending. Bend at your hips, fold forward. And we got this kind of cross leg standing forward fold, and maybe a huge, big, giant stretch through the back of our right leg. Breathe here. Whatever variation you're working is fine. Wherever the arms land is fine, and whatever they make contact with, it's also fine. Just breathe. And then as you inhale, come on up out of this pose, turn it right into a Garudasana, eagle pose. So right leg stays straight, left leg wraps around, maybe your toes tuck in close. Maybe go for that second wrap and snuggle them behind. Reach your arms up and bring your left arm under. So left leg over, left arm under. Strong core, strong belly here. That's going to help with some of that weeble wobbling, right? Find your core, find the belly, pull it in. Squeeze your squeeze your arms together, squeeze your legs together, and breathe. So this eagle pose makes a great stretch for our hips as well as our shoulders. It's also a balancing pose, and now we're using our core. It's going to get a little bit of everything all rolled into one. here. And untwist, unwind. Come back up. All right, again, I'm kind of in the middle of my mat here, so we're gonna just make our way to down dog. Any way you get there is fine. And then if you'd like to take a vinyasa, hit that reset button, go for it. Step your right foot forward. And actually this time, instead of bringing it, usually I say step your right foot forward, in between your hands, go wide. So go out to the pinky edge of your right hand. You can go wide, even maybe walk it off the mat. Lower your left knee down to start. So we're gonna start with a little lizard pose. Be as little or big as you want, really. It's just a lizard pose. All right, so one variation here is with the back knee down. The more you heel toe your front foot out to the right, the more room you're gonna have for that front hip. If you wanna add on to this, you can always tuck your back toes and lift your back leg up and go for a straight back leg. If you wanna go even deeper, walk your hands down and come onto your forearms. Breathe. Whatever variation you're in here, take a breath. So if your knees lifted, lower it down. If you're on your forearms, come back up. And everybody's got to walk that foot back in so that your right ankle is directly underneath your right knee. Then we're going to scooch and heel toe your right foot forward and come to a straight right leg. So we're in this, I don't know, low lunge, runner's lunge shape, right? It's kind of fitting for what our practice is here. A few things I want to point out. So you can come up, so your fingertips touch anything while they can easily reach is fine. Draw your belly in, use your core for support even here. One of the big keys though is actually in the foot. So you want to keep your foot flexed, keep your toes drawing back in the direction of your hips here. And keep the little tiny bend in your knees. You want to make sure you're not locking out through your knee. Breathe here. On your inhale, bend back into the front knee, pull it in. Make your way back to down dog. Maybe you want to lift that back leg up, bend your knee, open your hip, go for a little stretch. If you want to flip your dog on over or take a wild thing, you're pretty much right there, so go ahead. When you're ready, we'll come back and we'll meet in downward facing dog. See the left side, lift your left leg up. Step your left foot forward outside to the pinky edge of your left hand, maybe like you did on the other side for that lizard pose, heel toe, or walk your left foot out to the left to make space. Whatever variation works for you, that back knee down can be down, or your back knee can be lifted. You can also be up on your palms. You can rest your palms up on blocks or a stack of books, or whatever you got is fine, or come down onto your forearms. Hips especially seem to follow that rule that one side isn't always like the other side. So if the variation on this side doesn't look like the one on the other side, no worries. It's kind of why this pose has so many different options, I think. And as you come out of this pose, lower the back knee. If you're on your forearms, come back up to your palms and heel toe and walk your left foot back in. From there, once your left foot's centered, scooch it, heel toe it, wiggle it forward. If it comes off the mat, it kind of works out best because then you get a nice slip and slide through your foot. Flex your left foot, draw your belly in, and fold forward. As long as you're keeping that left foot flexed and keeping a tiny little bend through your knee, you're going to most likely feel this stretch through the meaty part of the muscle here. If you're feeling it underneath your knee or up in your hip, try to readjust and sort of play around with it till you find that stretch that feels like it's definitely in the muscle and not in kind of any of those ligaments or tendons that are holding on at the edges. Take one more inhale and one more exhale. Then make your way out of this pose, suck the leg back in, walk it back in, make your way back to downward facing dog. Maybe you want to lift the leg up, Flex through your hip, flip your dog, take a wild thing, whatever feels like it's right there in your practice. Maybe you want to move through a vinyasa, or maybe take a child's pose. When you're ready, we'll all meet back in downward facing dog. All right, walk forward, come back to the top of your mat. And I would suggest here for this one, grab whatever you're using as your strap. So you may not need it, totally fine. Actually, I'm gonna step back a little bit. But it could be helpful to have it handy just in case. If you went to the trouble of finding it and grabbing it, now's its moment to shine. All right, so we're gonna start by lifting your right leg. And then if you got a strap handy, loop some part of the strap around the ball of your foot and straighten your leg out. Take both ends of the strap in your right hand and bring your left hand to your hip. So this works great. If you got the flexibility in your hamstring and you want to grab just the big toe and hold on with your big toe, that works as well. And if you don't have either the flexibility in your hamstring or a strap handy, just do it with a bent knee, right? Same intention of the pose, and you're still getting a lot of those benefits. Go just about straight to where you start to feel the stretch, and you'll be working the edge that is right for your body. So I went through the trouble of finding the strap. I'm going to use it. So wherever you are, kind of get set up, draw your belly in, pull your right hip down so it's even with your left. Sometimes it kind of hikes up and hikes out. Tuck it back under your shoulder. Breathe, and keep that right foot flexed. Then open your right foot out to the right. Breathe here. Bring your right foot back to center. So same foot, different hand. Just grab the straps in your opposite hand. Or if you're not using a strap, you're going to grab a hold of the pinky edge, the outer edge of your foot. And that could be leg straight or leg bent. So either switching the straps or grabbing your foot slightly differently so you can bring your right leg across your body and stretch your right arm out away from you. Gaze down to the floor to sort of help with balance. There's something about grounding our gaze that helps ground our pose. And breathe. Untwist, unwind, come back to center. This time, point your toes, stand up straight, point that leg out straight ahead of you, draw your belly in. We all kind of want to do this here to lean back to counterbalance. Don't do that. Bring your shoulders over your hips, point your foot forward, take one more breath, and lower it down. Whew. Good work, good work. Shake it out, shake it out. So as you can imagine, like most things in yoga, now we're going to do the other side. So if you use the strap on this side, you want to play with it on the other side, great. You can always, I think you're in control of all of this, so you can probably hit pause and go find what you need if you've changed your mind about it now that we're doing the second side. Either way, let's set up for success on the second side. Start with your feet to touch or even hips distance apart will work here as well. Stand up straight, take a breath, find your balance. And then let's do the left side. Lift your left leg up. Either grab a hold of your big toe with your thumb and first two fingers or loop the strap around the ball of your foot. Grab a hold of this strap in your left hand. So if you're doing left foot, you got left hand. Flex your foot, stand up straight and tall. Breathe here. Then open your left leg out to the left. Breathe. Keep your belly nice and strong. Push down through both the inner and the outer edges of your standing leg. Try to find that sense of stability here. Bringing your foot back to center. So if you're doing the strap, it's same leg, different hand. Just switch and grab a hold of the ends of the strap in your opposite hand. If you're just grabbing a hold of the foot with either a straight or a bent knee, you're going to grab the pinky edge, the outer edge of that leg. Cross it across your body, and if you'd like, reach your left arm back behind you. Breathe here. Come back to center, release the strap. You can drop it off to the side.
Point your toes, stand up straight, draw your belly in. You got to keep your shoulders over your hips. Oh my gosh, why is your leg so hard to lift? Lift it up a little bit higher. Woo! Lower down. Shake it out, let it go. You got this. Woo! And then we'll make our way back to downward facing dog. No great transition on this one. Just find yourself back in down dog. If you'd like to move through a vinyasa, hit the rinse cycle on that. Go for it. Breathe here. And look forward. If you'd like to, if you got this in your practice and you want to jump through and come to sit on your butt, go for it. If you're like me, it's like a little tippy toe. Walk forward, cross your legs, sit back on your butt. Any way you come to sit on your butt with your legs out in front of you, totally fair game. So there's some really cool transitions that can be done there. For me, it's like a lot of core work, and there's been a little too much sitting at home eating pizza lately. All right, I'll start with Dandasana. It's staff pose. It kind of works like the Tadasana of all our seated poses. Yeah. So move the flesh out from underneath your hips. Bring your arms alongside your body. And you can always go hips distance apart here, just like our standing poses, just like our standing forward fold. But do flex your feet. Check that your shoulders are over your hips and draw your belly in. Reach your arms up alongside your ears. Bend at your hips, fold forward. Take a hold of your feet, ankles, calves, thighs, wherever your hands land is fine. Keep those feet flexed. And again, if you're looking for a little more space, you can go hips distance apart or even a little bit wider. If you want more of a stretch, bring your feet to touch. Breathe here. Inhale, come on back up. Bend your right leg. Bring the sole of your right foot to your left inner thigh. And then you're going to twist slightly so your belly button's facing towards your left big toe. A little twist through your torso. Lift your arms up and fold forward. Again, foot, ankle, calf, thigh. Whatever you can reach is fine. Wherever your hands naturally land is fine. It's okay if they land on the mat too. There's nothing fancy about anywhere that they're landing here, right? Just breathe. This is Janu Shirshasana. It means head to knee pose. On your inhale, come on up, switch your legs. The right leg out, left leg bent, sole of your left foot to your right inner thigh. Adjust as needed, right? Get a good, comfortable seat. Reach your arms up, draw your belly in, bend at your hips, and fold forward. Grab a hold of wherever you would like, whatever feels comfortable for you. You want to be able to relax your shoulders away from your ears though. Relax your eyes, relax your jaw. Just breathe. On your inhale, rise back up. Lengthen both legs out in front of you, and now lie back on your back. So we didn't do much with back bends. That's fine. We're going to still get a complete practice in here today. So I'm going to walk you through 3 different bridge poses. If you want to take upward facing bow or Vidyanurasana or any other kind of back bend here, now is your chance. But for my friends following along, we're going to do bridge pose. So lift your hips up. Interlace your hands underneath your low back and walk your shoulders in towards each other. Breathe here. Keep squeezing your knees, your legs in towards one another as you lift your hips up a little bit higher. And release your hands lower down. So you're going to do 2 more like that. I invite you to go at your own pace or follow along with me. So start by, resetting. Make sure your heels are underneath your knees, your feet are hips distance apart. And when you're ready, lift your hips up and walk your hands underneath you. Kind of walk your shoulders underneath you. I sort of kind of rock side to side to get them nice and squeezed under there. Lift your hips up high. come down, release your hands, lower your butt back down. And we'll go right into back bend number 3 of 3. So it's our final one, final back bend of a sequence with very few back bends. So if you're feeling something else, now's a chance. Or I invite you to take bridge pose number 3. So lift your hips up, walk your shoulders underneath you. If you'd like to interlace your hands, go for it. Sometimes grabbing the edges of your mat can be nice too and can give you a little more leverage. Breathe here. Release your hands, lower your hips. All right, so actually before we move on, take your knees hips distance apart, mats a bit distance apart, even a little bit wider, and knock your knees in towards each other, right? Get that nice little release for the low back. You gotta get the good stuff in there as well. Maybe windshield wiper from side to side can feel nice as well. A little massage for the low back here. Now bring them back to center. Grab your strap if you've used it for those standing poses. We're gonna kind of do the same thing, but with a totally different relationship to gravity. So start with both knees bent. You will have your head resting back behind you. I don't know, for me it's just, I feel like I'm making eye contact with you here by looking at the camera. So do rest your head back behind you, relax your neck, there's nothing going on special there. Lift your right leg up, hook the strap around the ball of your foot, and grab both ends of the strap in your right hand. And again, if you're doing this with your big toe, grab a hold of your big toe with your thumb and first 2 fingers, and that leg can be straight, the leg's a little bit bent, no problem, right? As long as you're feeling the stretch along the back part of your upper leg there, right? So find the variation that works for you. And if you've got a hold of the strap, you want to have both ends of the strap in your right hand. You can, of course, keep the left leg bent or straighten it out. Breathe here. So we're doing just like we did while we were standing, basically making the same shape with our body, only this time, way less balancing involved. Rest your left hand on your left hip. So we're going to try to keep the left hip and the left shoulder pressing down on the mat. And so having that left hand there can be nice and helpful as a reminder. Then open your right leg out to the right. And it will most likely hover somewhere above the mat, somewhere above the floor. That's fine. If you need to readjust and make space for yourself, go for it. Then bring your leg back up to center and switch hands. So either the straps are going in your left hand, or you're going to grab a hold of the pinky edge of your left foot. So either way, grab a hold of your left foot, grab the straps, and again, if your knee's a little bit bent, that works too. Actually, I like this one with the strap. Then, this one you do kind of have to lift the hips up, tuck them a little bit sideways, and roll onto the outer edge of your left hip. And here you can kind of totally go for it. Roll onto the outer edge of your left hip so that your right foot makes a connection down with the mat. And if you'd like to complete the twist, gaze out over your right shoulder. This one's a lot about the twist as well as that hamstring stretch. And if you'd rather just do the twist, go ahead and, let go of the foot, let go of the strap, just bend your knee and hold the outer edge of your knee. If you're like, yeah, this stretch is good for me, right? Some good stuff. On your inhale, back up to center, release the foot, recenter on your mat, and set up for the second side. So we'll start with the right leg bent. Start with the right leg bent. So you're starting with both legs bent. We're going to keep the right leg bent to start. Lift your left leg up. Grab a hold of your left foot, either by hooking the strap around the ball of your foot, grabbing a hold of your big toe. Then you can stay just like this, right? Get into position first. Find what's comfortable for you here. And if you want to add a little more stretch, then you go ahead and straighten that right foot out. Either way, you want to make sure you're flexing your left foot. You can make sure you're flexing your right foot too, so you don't got to figure out which is which. Flex both feet, why not, right? But especially that left foot, the one you have the strap wrapped around or the one that you're grabbing with your thumb and first 2 fingers. You want to make sure that foot is flexed so that you're stretching the meaty part of your muscle and not behind your knee. Breathe here.
open your left foot out to the left. Likely it will kind of hover above the mat because we want to rest our right hand on our right hip, keep our right hip and our right shoulder pressing down into the mat. So if you feel like you're rolling or toppling, you got to kind of back off of it a bit with that left leg. On your inhale, come on back up to center. Same foot, different hand. So you're either going to move the strap to your right hand or grab a hold of the pinky edge, the outer edge of your left foot. And when you're ready, here's where you roll into the outer edge of your right hip and go for it. See if you can touch your left foot down to the mat and gaze out over your left shoulder. Breathe here. On your next inhale, come on back up to center, release the strap. You can put it off to the side. We're done with it for now. Bend both knees, hug them into your chest, maybe gently rock side to side, right? Do a little massage through the low back here. And if you'd like to bend your knees out to the side, reach inside of your legs and grab a hold of the soles of your feet. Maybe take a happy baby pose. Again, gently rocking side to side. You can feel like a nice little massage for the low back. And if there's any final movements or any last poses you would like to make here on your back to complete your practice, I invite you to do so. Maybe another reclined twist, maybe any other back bends or inversions, right? Anything that you feel like would fit your practice, go for it. And again, you can most likely, I don't know how the technology is working here, most likely you can hit pause on this practice, fill in what you need to, and then come back and join me for Shavasana. So if you're ready for Shavasana, extend your feet out towards the corners of your mat. Bring your palms by your side and allow them to face up towards the ceiling. So Shavasana is our final relaxation pose. After all the effort we put into making all those shapes, we kind of let it go and just be. So I invite you to take these couple of moments to relax here in Shavasana. I'll keep track of the time. when you're ready, bring some movement back into your body. Maybe wiggle your fingers or wiggle your toes. Maybe you want to move your arms or move your legs, or you can stretch your arms up overhead and take a nice good morning stretch. Stretch from your fingertips through your toes. And then when you're ready, bend your knees and roll onto your right side. Press your hands down into the mat, press yourself up, and come to a comfortable seated position. Then I invite you to close your eyes and bring your palms together. We'll seal off our practice with the sound of one final Om. Inhale. Namaste. Thank you so much for once again joining me here in my home with Nava Yoga for this practice, and stay tuned for many more offerings from us. Namaste.